First, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Bob, Eure, and all of the family here that has kept me safe and brought me to this place and given me the opportunity to tell you what happened to me. All these people have given me all of their support and all of their patience and all of their time. And for what I don't know, other than they're very good people. But I'm here tonight to tell you what happened to me on October 15th of 1996. Is there anyone that hasn't heard this story? Well, in a minute, I will spend some time and go back over issues so you will understand more completely with what it's all about. But tonight, I'd like to give you my version of show and tell. I'll show you what I saw. We can talk about it, tell you a little bit about it, and then afterwards we can converse. We can ask some questions. First, I'd like to ask the question is, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes for a moment, have you ever thought what it might be like to have everything in your life taken away from you, stripped from you? Not only your money, not only your family and your friends, and everything that you have worked so hard to come to in your life. In a matter of days, it is totally 100% gone. And I don't mean just gone for the moment. I mean gone, it can't be found. Just ask yourself that for a second. And bear with me. This is very difficult for me. Can I have a glass of water, please? Thank you. Before any of this happened, I wasn't like most of you. I didn't believe in UFOs. I didn't know much about the study. I had never done any research or even thought of it. I didn't even like science fiction. My life was based in science, hard science, and I worked with kids with problems, family problems, genetic issues, learning disabilities. We did testing and research where I worked. But this wasn't part of my life. And when I took that walk in the woods that day with my dog, never in a million years would I have ever expected to feel or experience anything like what happened. And I'm here today to show you a little bit about what that was all about. Let me first start by apologizing for some of the language in the video. I was sick beyond compare. I was frustrated because for all times for my camera not to work was this moment when I was trying to bring some kind of stability into my life, which had been totally taken out at this time. And the camera would distort, and then it would be free from distortion. Then it would distort again. So little by little, I learned that the farther away from this thing I got, the less the distortion would occur. And I was truly working by the seat of my pants. There was no logic, there was no conscious effort to know what I was doing. I had experienced everything just short of death as far as the sickness that I was experiencing. I threw up for over 2 hours without stopping. My throat was raw. I was bleeding from my mouth. I had massive diarrhea. I could not control anything. When this first happened, I sat in an hour for about a 10-foot radius circle, crawling around on my hands and knees just to figure out what was going on, which I had no idea what was happening. Little by little, I regained some strength. and I walked a little bit outside of that circle. Things happened for no reason. The sound stopped in this area. All of the sounds of nature seemed to be gone from this whole area that only moments before was a pristine wilderness full of birds and the sound of air and running water. And all of a sudden, everything had stopped. The ground felt spongy. The air felt dense and hot, totally different than it had ever felt before. But I'd like to go through some of these slides and show you a little bit clearer of what I saw. This is the obelisk. This thing measured approximately 9.5 feet long by 2.5 to 3 feet high by 4.5 to 4.5 feet wide, by my recollection. It was sitting anchored to the air. It was not touching the ground. It had no landing gear, no wires, no props, nothing. It was as if it was stuck directly in the air. I had fallen against it, and I even tried to push against it. I could not move it a fraction of an inch. And this didn't make sense in my world, and drove me even more so to not understanding the circumstances of the moment. But I had some film and I had some cameras with me, because often we went hiking. My dog Susie and I. She was a 7-year-old golden retriever. She had been with me since she was a puppy. She was probably the next closest thing to me as a child would be. And when we walked through the woods that day, she took off ahead of me, barking profusely, chasing something, maybe chasing a deer, maybe chasing a raccoon. I don't know. By the way, Dave, thank you. I lost sight of her, but this often happened. It didn't worry me at that point. But then the barking changed to an angry or a growling sound. Then I got confused and I got concerned. I thought maybe she had been treed by something. Maybe something had gotten to her, because the barking sounded like she was being mauled. And as I came over this small rise and had just previously picked up a big stick, a big fallen branch, in case I could unengage her from something, I stood now in front of something that defied all of my logic and everything I have ever known in my life. I saw a small being or creature about 10 feet in front of me, shaking violently like a paint shaker. So much so I could not make out anything but an outline of this shape. But it had a head, it had 2 arms and 2 legs, and it was small. And it had my dog by what I thought was its left hand. Or my dog had it by the left arm. I couldn't see. But as I watched, this thing flung my dog back and forth, like it weighed nothing. My dog weighed 100 pounds. This thing was 4 feet tall. And as I watched, this thing started to kill my dog in front of my eyes. It tore her head right off of her body. And her body was peeled back, her fur bleeding profusely. And that's not a nice thing to see. You know, there's people that have told me, well, you know, you should get over this. Well, you get over it. If your child or your friend is killed in front of you, you get over it. And I've had to relive this for 4 years. I've had to think about what I have seen for years. And when I saw that, I lost control. I jumped forward and hit this thing as hard as I could, trying to kill it. Because it was killing my dog. And I didn't know if I was next. As soon as that happened, everything changed. I instantly became sick. I couldn't walk, my muscles would not function. I couldn't stand, I'd try to stand and I'd fall back down. And like I said, after hours of doing this, I finally regained a little bit of strength.